Okay, good morning. See someone's belly. I don't know. Check it short. Oh, Naftali. Hi. Good morning. Okay, we're starting now. The bottom of Samech Ches, Amud Beis, I think by Rav Ushmuel. Am I correct? That's where we ended off. And then we'll continue Samech Tes, which is a really wild daf. It's like Mr. Toad's ride that used to be at Disney World. Guys, can please be quiet because we're online, and schmooze later. And today's daf is probably one of the wildest things we're going to come across. And don't try and start figuring out the chemistry, because just we'll learn it for the sake of learning Torah. And medicine has changed much in the last 45 years I've been in it, and certainly in the last 2,000, 3,000 years, it's changed multiple times. So what might have been true back then, the time of the Rishonim and the Achronim, and just back in those days, in Tanom and Amoraim, may or may not be true today. It might have been true only for someone specific. It might have been purely spiritual. It might have been something that you just believe in. But when you start hearing the Gemara, starting Samech Tes, you think we're in Lewis Carroll and Alice in Wonderland, or really somewhere else. Who's Alice? Okay. So the bottom of 5 lines from the bottom, Samech Tes. Rav Shmuel. There is a dispute between Rav and Shmuel. We finished yesterday with the whole story of Ashmodai. Shmuel HaMelech, when they wanted to know where he could get the Shamir, he was Shlomo HaMelech, wanted to know where he could get, the Shamir. He was told Ashmodai no. Then he goes through the whole story, and in the end, Ashmodai breaks loose. It takes Shlomo's place. And then in the end, and he's going around the king, telling everybody I'm the king. Everyone thinks he's crazy. It's almost like the Chaser Mishugaim on his story. And finally, they asked the women who he was still attending to, what does he look like under the socks? They removed the socks or something like that, whatever we learned yesterday. And they see he had chicken feet. And then once he was exposed, he flew away. What a story. So the question is, what happened to Shlomo after that? Did he go back to being a king? Was he crazy? What? So it says here, Rav Shmuel, Chadamar Melech v'Hedyot. One says that Shlomo was a king and afterwards became a commoner. In other words, after this whole story, he was nobody and never fully regained his crown. Chadamar Melech v'Hedyot u'Melech. And the other one says that Shlomo was a king, became a commoner during this period. It was right afterwards, and then was reinstated as a king. So now the Gemara returns, and we to various conditions, and this is all going to be this kind of weird medical stuff. The Dama Duration for blood of the head. So a headache. How did they treat a headache? Or how? Now remember, every time we learn some of the Gemara, Rav Shmuel, Rav Abaye, Hillel, and Beis Shammai. I mean, there's always everyone arguing. And then we bring Bryces and this and that and say, oh, this is who will hold. Well, that means the other guy's wrong, all right? So just because someone says something here doesn't mean it's necessarily right. So as the rabbi said yesterday, do not try this at home. Do not do any of these treatments. We don't know exactly what these ingredients were. We don't know whether, and maybe they only apply then. But there are certain common threads in medicine. We'll see that they talk about specific ingredients. And again, you look up any medicine, you can look up on Google, you see it's made from some chemical structure of different ingredients. There's certain doses that are very important. And when a doctor gives you a medicine, he says, take this twice a day or once a day or 3 times a day, 4/5 of a teaspoon, 1 teaspoon. And the mamish makes a big difference, all right? Sometimes you can't deviate at all, won't work. Sometimes you can deviate. Then we'll come across some similarities. But outside of that, we're learning L'Shem Torah. All right, L'Dama Dereisha, for blood of the head, meaning for a headache. Laisei Shorvina, Vina, Va'asa Dera. bring boxwood, willow, fresh myrtle. The zesa, the chilfa, the chilfe, the yama, the yabla. Olive, poplar, cloves, yabla. All right, you see, these are the ingredients. Vilishlukinhu, bahade hadase, and boil them together. At this point, this sounds like Shakespeare's witches, boil, boil, toil and trouble, fire and cauldron, but, and by the way, I read this wonderful article yesterday. If anyone wants me to send it to them, Esha Torah printed this article on was Shakespeare Jewish. Apparently, Shakespeare had an unbelievable knowledge of not only Torah Shebechtav, but Torah Sheba'al Peh, and all through Shakespeare, there's all these allusions to stuff from the Gemara. So who knows? Maybe that meant that he knew this stuff, and then he just made up the ingredients there. Vilinto tlasma meya kase hahai gisa deresha. Then pour 300 cups, again, doses important, of the mixture on this side of the head. And 300 cups on that side of the head. So I said, this is very wild. You don't want to do that? That's okay. I'll give you another remedy, an alternative remedy. The imlo, if you don't want it. Laite varda chibra dekae bechad dora. Bring a white rose whose leaves all stand in one row. Yeah, here white rose. I know by non-Jews, they have a minhag of throwing a white rose at the grave. So I don't like the idea of bringing a white rose to somebody. But anyway, they say bring a white rose, vilishlike, and boil it. Boil the rose. Vilinto shitin kase ahai gisa deresha. Then pour 60 cups of the resulting liquid on this side of the head, the shitin kase ahai gisa deresha, and 60 cups on that side of the head. This reminds me of this old joke where the guy comes into the doctor and he says, I got this terrible pain in my shoulder. So the doctor goes and punches him in the other shoulder. He goes, oh, that really hits me. I got this pain in this shoulder. So he punches him in the stomach. So wherever he complains, he punches him somewhere else. By the time he's done, he's got pain so many places. I don't remember what he came in for. So here it's like, I guess if you're pouring stuff on one side, you're pouring stuff, you got such new stuff. Who knows? You forget about your headache. Well, don't do that. Don't do it at home. Yes, for sure. Right. But again, that was just a joke.
Weed, a lot of weed.
Take a lot of weed. Yeah. Seaweed. Yeah. What about a migraine headache? I was interested to hear about this because I used to be a terrible migraine sufferer. When I was young, I would have at least one a week. And I've been on several different medicines till the age of 40, when I discovered one that I take once or twice a day, and basically I've been migraine free for the last 30 years. So let's see what they recommended. Laite tarnagola bara, bring a wild cock. That means a rooster. Vilishchate bezuza chivra, and slaughter it with a sharpened zuz coin of pure silver. It's funny, you think right away, we have our coins and they're all copper. When they switched from pure silver, the copper was in the mill, they coated it with nickel and make it look like silver on each side, but you still see the copper, along the rim on the inside to let you know it's really a copper coin. So it's interesting here. A pure silver, ahahu isa devoi lay, over the side of the head which aches, so that the blood trickles down the side of the head. Tell you, no wonder you can forget your headache. However, one must be aware that the blood not blind one's eyes. Then hang the slaughtered cock on the doorpost of the patient's house, so that when he enters, he brushes against it, and when he exits, he brushes against it. I don't know what to do with this, but is it that when he sees it, this is spiritual and it gets his mind off? It's like the nechash nechoshet. looking up to this copper snake. It wasn't that the snake gave the refuah to the people in the Torah. It was that you look up to Shemayim, to Hashem. So I don't know what this is, brushing against God. It's also interesting that this cure only talked about one side of the head. The previous headache talked about both sides. And most tension headaches are bitemporal. Most migraine headaches are unilateral. They're on one side, and they're bring, I got this pain in my eye, it's killing me, this and that. So, again, there's going to be similarities, but do not try the remedies at home. Okay, livrukti for cataracts. Okay, I had bilateral cataracts. I had them cured. You want to know how? A cataract surgery. They took out the lenses, all right? And they put in new fake lenses. Not only do they put in new fake lenses, but they put in bifocal lenses. So this I only need because the font is very small. Otherwise, I can see far, I can see near, I don't need glasses. Now, it's amazing if the rabbis heard about cataract surgery 2,000 years ago, you suck out the lens of the eye, you cut the eyeball, you suck out the lens of the eye, and you put a piece of toxic plastic in it. They would have thought we're crazy. So again, just because we don't understand what was going on then, doesn't mean what we're doing now is, it might be right now. In the future, we might find something better. All right. Laite akraba the shev chumre. Bring the scorpion. This is the cure for cataracts. That is spotted with 7 colors. Apparently, as a scorpion gets older, it develops more colors. The naibshe betula, and dry it out in the shade. It's interesting because why does it say the shade? Because not in the sunlight, Rashi says, because you dry things in the sunlight and it burns things. If it gets dry in the shades, it dries. But in fact, like when we water our lawns, we're told water our lawns before 10 a.m. or after 5 p.m., never in the heat of the day, because you water the lawn, the heat of the day, what happens? It acts like a magnifying glass, and your grass gets burnt by the sun. So we water the lawn when I tried to say water, right? Not water, but we water the lawn, in the kind of shady times. And we're not talking about shade like shading, which we had yesterday. We're just talking about not lack of sunlight. Good morning, Professor. Vinishchak, and grind it and make a powder consisting of tate menasa, kochala v'chada menasa mine, 2 parts of antimony and 1 part ground scorpion. Again, dosing. V'limale tlata michale v'hai eina. Then apply 3 doses of the powder to this eye, u'tlata michale v'hai, and 3 doses to that eye. I shouldn't be showing this on myself. I'm just showing the sides. Tvei lo mile. One must be aware not to apply more than 3 doses to the eye. The low, because if one does not be aware of this, his eye may burst. So here's the first comment of a potential overdose or side effect. Be careful. This is what the doctor's prescribing twice a day. Don't be such a chacham and take the pill 3 times a day. Right? So as I say, there are similarities. It's just different medicine. Okay. Another eye affliction. L'shavrire delela, for night blindness, which is called nyctalopia. Night shudra barka. One should bring a rope of animal hair. By the way, I think I learned that one of the things that help night blindness is just having more vitamin A or whatever the vitamin is. What is that it? Well, one of the vitamins is good for eyesight, that helps. The other thing is one develops cataracts. They start.
Carrots.
Yeah. So which vitamin is in carrots? Is it vitamin A? Yeah. So whatever. But the other thing is that if one's developing cataracts, we just mentioned, that also leads to a night blindness. It's one of the clues. Night day should. Oh, just a mention of that surgery. So, as I said, now they treat cataracts First of all, so the cataracts might cause night blindness. So they treat the cataracts with the surgery. Well, if you have this, if one has this new surgery, like I had several years ago, where they put in these very fancy lenses, the lenses have a side effect. When you, after they do the surgery for months, if not a year or two, every time you would look at a headlight or street lamp at night, you saw what looked like a sunburst or a dandelion effect, because the lenses, I guess, had the way they were made, had like these stripes in them or whatever, concentric or what? No, this whatever that's called, and it drove me nuts at night. So now I could see, but I didn't want to look at people if they hit their brakes or look at the street lamps, because I'm seeing like fireworks all the time. So again, watch out for side effects even nowadays. So listen to this treatment back then. You bring a rope of animal here, horse hair, with a cow tail, whatever. Vanessa chada kara mine, and tie one end of the rope around your leg, the person's leg. V'chada kara mikalba, and one leg of a dog. So you're attached to your dog. This reminds me when I walk the dog in the morning. I'm holding one end of the leash. He's holding the other end of the leash. But this is on the legs. Then children should rattle pottery shards behind them, like making noise, like with pots and pans. So they're taking pottery shards, pieces of broken pottery, and they should say to him the following incantation. Boy, does this sound like Shakespeare's witches. Asa kalba achsata nagola, oh dog, mad rooster. He should then collect 7 pieces of raw meat from 7 houses. Each homeowner should give him the meat at the doorway of his home. And he should then go by the city dump and eat it there. This is one wild treatment.
Raw meat. Said eat the raw meat, right?
Yeah, we said at the beginning, forget about all these ingredients and everything, because they're just what that Rav or what was recommended then. Do not try in this, right? Afterwards, Lipsha Chudra Barka, he should remove the animal hair rope from his leg, and they should say the following incantation. When it says they, I don't know if it's the children or the man, but this is what I think it means, the person. Shavrire Tifloni Bob Filoni, blindness of so-and-so, son of the woman of so-and-so. So basically they're naming the person who's blind. Shakinhu Liflone Bob Filoni, leave so-and-so, son of woman so-and-so. V'chure L'chalba B'voisei B'visa De'ene, and finally they should blow into the pupil of the dog's eye. Peta would have a real day with this. It's just, Tzar Balei Chayim, you're blowing into the eye of a pupil. But anyway, weird treatment. Okay, that's for night blindness. All right, L'shvire di mama. All right, what about
the guy who's blind is the dog and all stuff? That's
yes,
doing.
Yes.
So he's blowing his blindness out onto the dog. That's
going to this story. Don't waste too much time delving into any of this. Be honest with you.
They're probably going to remove the YouTube video.
They're going to remove the YouTube video. Who, Peta?
The big pharma.
Big Pharma. The Shvire di mama. What about daytime blindness, which is hemerolopia, I think, something like that. Laite shiva sumke migaba dechavasa. Bring 7 spleens from the inside of freshly slaughtered animals. Vinit vinhu achaspa de umana, and roast them on a blood-lettish shard. Veleship ihu migaba. Then the blind man should sit inside a house. The inish achrina me abare, And another person whose vision is good should sit outside. V'neima le avira, and the blind man should say to him, Habli de'echo, give me the spleens to eat. V'neima le hech pesicha, and the other one who sees should say to him, Sov, echo, take them, eat them. Uvasa da'achel, and after he eats, the beret lechaspa, he should break the blood leather shards. Remember, the spleens were being roasted on this. The elo hadre ilove, because if he does not, the blindness may return to him. No more comments. All right.
What's spleen?
What's a spleen? A spleen is an organ on the left side of the body, like the liver is on the right, the spleen is on the left. The spleen is normally responsible for filtering the blood. It's full of blood. It gets rid of the old blood. Blood cells only last for 3 months, and they're constantly new blood is being made. That's why in an accident, breaking a rib on the left side is more dangerous, because if it punctures the spleen, the person can almost bleed to death. So just Lamasa, you should know that a lot, especially with sports accidents. So God forbid a person I knew somebody, I still know him, that got in an accident, broke his the rib, ripped the spleen, rushed him to the hospital, took out his spleen. I believe they took out spleen, because it's very hard to patch up a spleen. It's all one mass of blood cells, just jello. All right, lidma de ase min chira, for a nosebleed. All right, what do you do about a nosebleed? What do we do nowadays? Actually, you're not supposed to tilt your head back, because you will can choke on it. You actually tilt your head forward. Yeah, and we stick stuff in there. If you went to the ER, they have these like balloons that they stick in, and they blow up the balloon and block it. That's for a simple nosebleed. Otherwise, they try and cauterize it, and there's more stuff. But let's see what they did then. Lidma does say for a nosebleed. Laite Gabra Kohen Dishmei Levi. We need to bring a man who's a Kohen, whose name is Levi. V'lichtav Levi Lemafreya, and he has to write the name Levi backwards for him. Could you give me some cold water if you don't want? The elo, and if not, I say inish mi alma. He should bring. Let's say he can't find a Kohen named Levi. He should bring any man, and he should write for him the incantation. Listen to this. Ana papi Sheila bar sumki lemafreya. I papi Sheila bar sumke, and write that backwards. All right. And this is not a what's the word when it's read the same way? Madam, my madam, forward and backwards. It's not one of those. I can't think of what that's called. You know what I'm talking about. This is you're just writing this backwards. Think of it.
Yeah, but does writing it backwards spell something special?
No, that's what I'm trying to say. No, just who knows. By the way, talking about things writing backwards, just agavocha and the mezuzah. If you unravel, if you have an kosher mezuzah at home and you unravel it, and you look on the back of the mezuzah, Moshe knows this for sure, you know, where it says shakai on top, it says kuzu b'mechsas kuzu, all right, which as far as we know doesn't mean anything, but it's actually the next letter, it's written opposite, if you go to like Hashem Elokeinu Hashem from Shema, and it's the next letter from each one, Yud, so it's a Chav, Hey, it's a Vav. Vav, it's a Zayin. So Kuzu is one, and actually there's a good commentary on what that is, that it's in Gematria, it's 65. I think the same as, no, it's same as Yagar, which is Vayagar Moab, that they got really scared because of what happened. And that's for another time. All right, let's go further. All right. If not, all right, all right. So what if he didn't write it backwards? If not, nichtav lehachi, let him write the following thing, the following incantation. Tam deli b'mei chesed. The taste of a bucket in silver water. Tam dali b'mei pagam. The taste of a bucket in tainted water.
Upside down or not?
What?
This one needs to write upside down or regular?
It just says to just write it. So if he couldn't write Levi backwards, because he never Kohen named Levi, if he couldn't just write the other sentence backwards, then he writes this. So obviously we're not dealing with a dyslexic sofer person who could easily write things backwards if somebody's having a hard time with it. Another type of remedy for a nosebleed. So the first one, I have no idea how it works. Not that I really would try it at home or anywhere else. The elo, and if not, lyse kara das pata. One should bring the root of a stalk of aspata, it's a plant. The ashla, the poria atika, and the rope of an old bed. Remember, in those days, the beds didn't have mattress springs; they had ropes weaved across, and then they put their bag of straw in it. So they would take a little rope from the bottom of the bed. All right. The cortisa morike, rag paper, saffron, the sumka de liba, and the red part of a palm branch, the niklina bahade hadade, and burn them together until they turn to ash. Valaite gava, man, I hate to go to an ER in those days. Valaite gavava the amka. Then he should bring a ball of wool. It's probably the only part that was really worthwhile there. Vinigdo tarte pitilasa, and twist the fiber to form two strands. Belit mishbachala, and immerse the strands in vinegar. Vinigad bel bekitma hadain, and roll them in these ashes so that the ash adheres to them. And insert one strand in each of his nostrils. So nowadays you would just take tissue paper, like you said, stick it in each nostril and hope that works. If not, go there. In those days, you had to go through all this stuff. So, I asked you for a moment, even though I said, don't try this. What is all this stuff? Is it that the mamish worked? Or is it that this is spiritual? Is it that you had to believe? We do know in medicine that what we call the placebo effect, but believing something works. I mean, can like 50% of the time, or whatever the amount of time is, make the thing work. A lot of times they do studies and they see that the new drug, it's a little bit better than placebo. So placebo doesn't have any side effect. It's a little sugar pill. And I once heard a story, of which I'm sure there's a million stories like this, of the Rebbe, where there were two childless couples came to him, and they both asked for brachas to have children. He gave them both the same bracha. They both left, and 9 months later, one of them came back. They had a baby, and they came back to thank the Rebbe. The other ones didn't have a baby. And they were very upset, and they came. This is how I remember the story I heard. Could be wrong, I'm sorry, but just they came back and I guess complaining or just wanting to know why is it the other couple? I guess they knew each other, but had a baby, but they didn't have a baby. So I don't know if the Rebbe answered or this is the Maaseh Shahaya. The other couple is at the moment the Rebbe said you can have a child. All right, picked a room for a child room, painted it, got furniture. They prepared a whole nursery for the baby. The other ones waited, did nothing. They were waiting to become pregnant and have the baby. So obviously the first people had true emunah, all right? And emunah is more, we believe, is even more than placebo effect. It's really being makushal, this is going to work. So perhaps if you really believed in these at that time remedies, they brought you the miracle for that time. And maybe these were the miracles at that time meant to work. It's like there's a machlokes between Rambam and Rambam about miracles. Is the whole world a miracle, or a miracle is just something that happens once in a while, So the fact that Yam Suf split, was that a miracle for the moment or no? The ocean was made, water was made a miracle in itself, and it flows down. But part of that itself had within the ingredients that on such and such a date, at this moment, Y2K, whatever, the ocean will crash and split in half temporarily. Well, actually, 12 times 2, or whatever it was. Okay. All right. Yet another remedy for the nosebleed. Velo. And if not, now you might notice, excuse me, that I'm going a little bit slower, but if I don't make it up to the end of Samach of Amud Beis, it's on purpose. I do not want to do the next page because tomorrow's daf is like X-rated, excuse me, and I don't want to be the person teaching that. No, the rabbi will be back, but believe me, it is really just make sure no children are in that class. Okay, the Elo, Lichsei Amas Hamayim, the Azla Mimizrach Kilape Marav. One should find a canal that flows from east towards west. The Nifsa step over it, V'nikam Chad Kara Lahai Gisa, and stand with 1 foot on this side and 1 foot of the stream, B'chad Kara Lahai Gisa, and 1 foot on the other side. Obviously, it's a very narrow canal, but you have to make quite a split. I have a picture of my oldest son when he was like in great shape, when he was like 18, and he's doing a perfect split, and one heel is on like a post on one side and the other on the other side. And I meant to find that because this is what it reminded me of, someone standing across the canal like that, or a little creek. Nishko Tina Bidei, the Yamina Mituse Kara Shmale. The morning. Then he should take mud with his right hand from beneath his left foot. Oh, so now he's doing like Jack Lane stuff. Here his feet are spread apart. Now he's bending over this way. It was like calisthenics, Then he should take mud with his right hand from beneath his left foot. Uvide de shmala mitute kara de yamine, and with his left hand from beneath his right foot, obviously not totally beneath, because then he would lose his footage from that area. The dicto tate pesil lata de amrei, twist 2 strands of wool, the nitmish betina, immerse it in the mud, the nise binechire, and insert one of them in each nostril. And supposedly he wouldn't sneeze, and that would stop the nosebleed. Well, I guess if you stuff each nostril with mud, but again, do not try this at home. All right, what's the next one? Velo, all right. And if, let's say you don't want to do that, or you don't have a creek where you can do this, a third remedy. Lite tute mazvata, one should sit beneath a water spout, all right? A little Miss Muffet, I don't know, Benaitu Maya, and others should bring water, Vilishtu alay, and pour it on him through the spout, Vilemru, and say the following. Kihechi de paske hane maya, just as these waters stop, livsuk de me, de flunya ba pulinasa. So too should the blood of so-and-so of the woman, blood of so-and-so, son of the woman so-and-so stop. All right. Ooh. All right. So that's it for nosebleed. If you notice, we're going from cephalad, Kordat. We're starting with the head and we're going downwards. So we start with a headache, and then eyes, nosebleed. Now we're going to the mouth. The damadase mipuma, for bleeding of the mouth. Badlikin lay begila de chitra. You never spit out blood from the mouth? You brush your teeth and spit out blood? That never happened? No.
From inside.
I don't know where it's coming from. How's it fine? They're saying you spit out blood from the mouth. Batinan lay begila de chitra. The patient, listen how they test it, because you have to diagnose it first, right? Before you treat. So this is the first time they're doing a diagnosis before treatment. Bakinan lay begila de chidra. The patient is to be tested with a straw of wheat. Isarech, if the blood sticks to the straw, mireya kase islay takanta, it is coming from the lungs, and thus there is a remedy for it. Velo, but if the blood does not stick to the straw, mikabda kase is coming from the liver, velaslay takanta, and there's no remedy for it. So 2 comments very quickly. Number one, I know you're going to ask me, wait a minute, I can understand someone who's coughing up blood from their lungs, and it's coming through their mouth. But the liver is not connected to the oral cavity. How can blood come from the liver and come out in the mouth? So I was thinking about this because that itself is anatomically incorrect. I said, wait a minute. It's very interesting. First of all, you also remember the case where the guy had his wife in bed with a bunch of other guys, and he went and he took a white of an egg, we just learned, and spit, and he say, oh, see what's there? She was Mizana. She did, and they went, and we learned that you, I don't remember how, but you could tell if it dried up or something.
When you put heat.
Yeah, okay, so and there was a test for it. So here again, it's kind of a diagnostic test. So if someone has liver disease, chas v'shalom, the liver is the source of the clotting factors. So if a person unfortunately has such bad liver disease that their clotting factors are diminished markedly, they bleed easily. So that blood would not congeal, won't clot easily. So maybe when they do this test, the fact that the second, result of it didn't clot is how they knew it was from the liver. Maybe that's just my touch on this, but I don't know. But there is no direct connection from the liver to the oral cavity. Goes into the blood, it filters the bloodstream. Amalei Rav Ashi. By the way, if anyone ever wondered why giving a shot IV works faster than a pill, and come in the hospital and they right away say, oh, give the guy IV Benadryl, is because when they give IV, it's right away in the bloodstream. If the person has a pill, it has to be digested. It then goes through the liver, so it has a first, and the liver detoxifies it a little bit. So it's by the time it gets into the bloodstream, it's less strong. So that's why the IV is given for when they need medicine quickly. Amalei Rav Ami the Rav Ashi. Rav Ami said to Rav Ashi, "V'anan ipchatznan." But we learned the opposite in the Mishnah. So now he's going to say just the opposite of what we just learned. He's talking about the lung and the liver. For Mishnah includes the following defects in the injuries that render an animal treifa. Nito hakavet v'lo nisya nishtoya emena klum. If the liver was removed and nothing remains of it, hareya shenikva or shechasra, if the lung was punctured or it was deficient, thus injury to the lung is more serious than injury to the liver. In other words, he's just quoting another Mishnah that says the lung is more serious. It's a more serious injury. He's trying to say, so why over here are you saying that the more serious condition is from the liver? Apples and oranges. But again, one has to do with kashrus and one has to do with this medical treatment. It's a question. That's Vaita. Rav Ashi replied, Amalei replied to Rav Ashi, Kevan de mipume kaise, since the blood is coming from the mouth, ema itamuche itamach. It is presumable that the liver has totally dissolved and nothing is left of it. It's interesting. That's kind of what I said. If the liver disease is so bad, they don't have clotting factors. Let me see if there's any commentary on that. Once the liver comes to generates blood. Oh, listen, here the commentary says, if this does not occur, one must assume that the liver is completely degenerate and its blood is backing up into the lungs through an artery that connects the two. This is what Rashi says. Once the liver has been lost, there is no cure. It's indicated by this. All right, I'm not aware of that artery. Now, there is what's called caput medusa. I don't know if you ever saw a person who's an end-stage alcoholic. They have a belly. They look like they're 28 months pregnant, sticking out. And if you ever saw them without their shirt at the beach, not only is it protruding, you actually can see their veins all like popping out on their body coming from the belly button. Because remember, when the child was being formed, everything came through the placenta. So there was this blood vessel that went through the belly button, right? The belly button, when they cut off the placenta there. So when everything backs up, the belly button is the area where all these blood vessels, branches could then come from. I'm just saying there might be something to this. I don't know more. Don't try it at home.
Man,
This is a man.
you think it is?
I was just explaining that the placenta, we all have belly buttons, all right? Unless you had a C-section, you won't have a belly button, just kidding. No, we all have belly buttons. The belly button was the place where, in the forming stage as a fetus, the blood came from the placenta into the body.
Sorry, I got it.
Okay, let's go weiter, further. Amamar. Okay, see if we get down to bottom, at least the first page. Imerei kaisei islay takanta. If the blood is coming from the lungs, there's a remedy for it. Matakante, what's the remedy? Laise shiva kune mipirma. The silka brings 7 fistfuls of sliced beets. The shiva kune pirma. The charte, 7 fistfuls of sliced leek. The chamisha kune prida, 5 fistfuls of what is prida. It's an herb, whatever. Utlasa kune the lafche, and 3 fistfuls of lentil. The chune the chamona, a fistful of cumin. The chune the chave, a fistful of chavle. The chenegdan kanta patirta, and the matching amount of intestinal fat of a firstborn animal. Again, ingredients. Do not try it home. What? It's interesting. You ask a kosher animal. It doesn't say here, but when it comes to medicine, there's a heta that it doesn't have because it's not derech achila. In fact, I don't know if it's still the case, but amoxicillin, which we give to all our kids or grandkids, for simple infections, is trafe. Always has trafe. Yeah. So I don't know if they change the ingredient. I doubt it, but it was always because people would come and ask me, "Is it kosher Pesach?" It's trafe. What do you worry about kosher Pesach? But I remember when I would always ask the rabbis, for hetafe, he said, if they have to take the medicine, they have to take it. It's not, they just swallow it. It's no achila. But I'm not a Rav giving, this is not a halacha shir. Cook the mixture and eat it. Velishte of terei shichra charifa the tefes. The hardest part of this Gemara is not trying to figure out how if it's pronouncing the words here. And afterwards, drink strong spirits. I like that. That fermented in the month of Teves. All right, so go get drunk and you'll be well.
Cold this month.
Yeah. Oh, so alcohol makes you feel warmer. Another ailment of the mouth. We have not gone beyond the mouth yet. We're still in the head. Excuse me.
So you don't need to drink it in Davis, even if it's in Kabul.
Right. That's when it was fermented. Lachacha, for an ache of the molars. All right. Terrible toothache. Amar Rabba bar Rav Huna. Rabba bar Rav Huna said, "Laite tumoi rechida." Bring a head of garlic. There's only a single clove. Again, dosing. Exact amounts. V'nimrsei v'mishcha umilcha, and grind it together with oil and salt. Is he making a salad? V'neisve atorpere the ilyona, and put it on the thumbnail, dahu gisa, the chabe lay, of the hand that is on the side of the eggs. So the person rubs it on the nail of his thumb, so he can stick his thumb in his mouth and rub it on the tooth. V'nerda lay gedanfa delisha, and surrounded with the ring of dough. All right, so on the nail, he puts this medicine, but he surrounds it with dough. However, one should beware that the garlic does not touch his flesh, the kashe lachibra, because it can cause leprosy. So this is interesting. Here's the first time we're mentioning where the cure, and we're talking about side effect, is another disease, right? Not only that, but sometimes a person will go to a doctor to get a wart burnt off or something like that. I know nowadays we do it a lot easier ways, but in the old days, they would put a little Vaseline around the wart and then put the chemical, cauterizing chemical on it, badophyllin or whatever, or if they were burning. The idea was to insulate the healthy skin around, where you're doing. So it sounds like that's what they were talking about here. Another element of the oral cavity.
The garlic doesn't touch it, so what you do? It's like Bluetooth. I mean, just put it close and continue without touching it.
No. The garlic has to touch the tooth, but it's such a strong garlic with this other stuff. They don't want it to get on your finger. So the tooth, it's enamel, or bone and whatever's in there.
In the mouth.
No. All right. Got 10 minutes left. And for suppurative tonsillitis, what's that, Quincy? Yeah, Quincy. We don't see this much anymore because they right away give penicillin. If, the person has a strep screen that's positive, or if they even think so until the culture comes back or the result comes back. But in the old days, occasionally you'd see someone and they come in with this abscess on the tonsils, and it could choke them. I mean, it was really dangerous, Quincy. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said, "Chumte bi ki mamro." Pyrethrum leaves are as effective as bald molny. Two types of leaves, right? Ve'ikra the chumrei adif mi mamru. And the root of the pyrethrum plant is even better than bald molny. The ninkot bepume. One should keep them in his mouth for some time. So the first thing you do is you take one of these leaves and you just kind of chew on it, basically. You just keep it in your mouth. Chane lukme, they're used to stop the swelling. So it basically stops this abscess, which is a pocket of pus on the tonsil, from increasing. All right? Now, what are you going to do? I mean, are you going to do surgery to remove it? How are you going to let? So look, this is interesting because there's certain times in medicine where you have to go through series of steps of first you take this medicine, then after that you take this medicine, then there's the third. Right here, this can be a 4-step process. The second step, levashule, to form abscesses, lyse pyre duration nafia. One should bring bran from the top of the sieve, utlapche afraye, and lentils in the afrayu, and lentils in their soil, the shuv lilta and fenugreek. I can't decide what's harder to read, the Aramaic or the English. The chumarta, the chushta, and the hapa blossom, the ninkot ke'amguza befume, and keep a nut-sized amount of the mixture in his mouth. Step 2. So it's interesting. In order to cure an abscess, we first dry it and then we make an abscess. Why? Because we're trying now to create an abscess that we can get rid of, because the original abscess we couldn't just with one step get rid of. We need a stepwise process. This is just interesting. Okay, next step. So this is the third step. If tuche, to swell the abscess so that they will burst open and drain. So that's what we're trying to do. Linfach le chavre Tachle chivarta begila de chitra. Another person should blow white cress seeds into the patient's throat through a wheat straw. Again, do not try this at home. Don't choke this guy, all right? All right. Once this guy's now blown this stuff into the mouth, look, nowadays what they do, they stick scoped in the mouth. This is what they did then. The final step, believe me, they stick scopes in the. I recently, Masa Shahaya in the Sadova, I went to 3 ear, nose, and throat doctors. The first one scoped me, he heard my voice, because trying to figure out. The first one scoped me twice. Couldn't find anything in it. All right. Second one scoped me the first time, said he found something. Then I went back, scoped me the second time, he said, it's gone. That doesn't make sense. I didn't do anything to make it gone, and what I found should not have been gone. He sent me to the third ENT, otolaryngologist. He scoped me with a rigid scope. All right. He mamish found something. I don't like what he found. So I'm going right after next week, right after the 9 days. I'm having surgery to have this removed. But it took all these different type of diagnostic tests to figure out. So here, this actually wasn't diagnostic, but they stuck, tubes in the mouth that they had, like the scopes. All right. Okay. Now the final step, the fourth step. Plasuke, to raise fresh skin after the abscess has opened. Okay. Because now that you've drained the abscess, all right, what about letting it heal? Yeah, I will lose my accent. I will finally say water and New York. I would speak like a Bostonian. Yeah. To raise fresh skin after the abscesses have opened, Laite Afra Mitula Debase Hakise. Listen to this one. This is even wild. I don't think you can try this at home. One should bring dust from the shade of the toilet. Now, the other day we talked about a shade that was in a well. We're not talking about the demon. Here we're talking about on the dark side of the toilet. It's maybe moss grows there in the dirt. But for some reason, the dust that was in the shady side, there was something they felt was therapeutic. V'nikbo b'duvshe v'necho, and mix it with honey and eat it. Because it's effective for this purpose. All right. All right. It's 4 minutes to. I'm sorry, we only got hit one side. Well, let's just finish side. For Qatar, which I think is basically mucus, like a cold. Lavarsas, Laiteki Pistica the Nishadur. Bring the cedars cone volume of ammoniac, whatever that is. The Chiyamguza, the Chalbanesa, the Shanisa, a nut-sized amount of sweet galbanum, umalei taravasa duvshe chivasa, and a spoonful of white honey, umalei natla bas mechoza chamer nikida, and a mechozis nafla full of clear wine, nish lokina hadade, and boil them together. Boil, toil, and trouble. B'chi bashu nish dura bashu lei kule. And when the ammoniac is cooked, one can be sure that the entire mixture is cooked, because the ammoniac was a mineral. So that would take the longest time to cook. So once that was cooked, you know for sure everything else was cooked. What? Well, no, this is a postnasal drip. So it's still related. It's still in the mouth. All right. But good point. Yeah. One should then drink this potion. Another remedy for the ailment, below, if not, lyse reviasa, the chaba, the iza chibarta. Bring a revius of milk, of a white goat. We're on the next page. Just one moment. All right. V'niktaife atla kilcha krava. Let it drip over 3 cabbage stalks into a vessel. V'nifkashe begabsa the marmahin. Then stir it with the twig of marmahin tree and cook it together with the twig. Chibasho gavsa the marmahin bashu lei kule. And when the marmahin twig has been cooked, one can be sure the entire mixture is cooked. One should then drink this potion. And then it goes on to another one, a remedy from a dog's excrement. All right. We will continue tomorrow. The rabbi can give it a class.
White dogs.
White dog. It's got to be a white dog.
Rennie, you were the perfect person to give this year.
Perfect
Thank you.
person. Perfect poison. All right. Thanks. See you. Thanks.
You were very brave.